I think the defining moment was I was 16 and I was reading a book, Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse. I share this a lot because there was a line in that book that said, eternity is a mere moment just long enough for a joke.
Hello guys, Gokul here from Creative Chips. Welcome to episode 1. Creative Chips is a series of interviews brought to you by MadCap where we converse with an artist and get to know more about them as a person and try to capture their journey. Today we have Ms.Akshita Gandhi from Mumbai, India. She's a contemporary artist and her artworks have been exhibited across the globe. Let's get this started.
Hello, hi Akshita, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for taking time to do this. I appreciate it.
No, it's entirely mine. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So, by the way, how is everybody in your family with the whole COVID situation? Did you guys get vaccinated?
Yes, we've gotten vaccinated. We're all okay, thankfully. I hope
Very
everything is
nice.
okay on your end.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, we all got vaccinated. I was just telling people that before you came in that we should be very grateful for having the freedom to do what we want to do, considering the whole fiasco that's happening across the globe and especially in Afghanistan, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah. Amazing, Akshita. Let's get to this. So this is going to be a quick 30, 40-minute conversation. The goal is to get to know more about you as an artist and how you, and about your journey as well, right? So let's
Thank
get to
you.
this. So why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, where you're from, your education, and how did you even get to art in the first place?
So, I'm a complete Bombay girl. I was born here,
Okay,
brought up here. I went to Dubai to study to my undergraduation,
nice.
and I went to the American school here. I come from a business background, so complete like, your corporate life, as cliche as it is, all of it. And
Yeah.
then we were always, it was always understood that we'd study business administration or
Uh-huh.
management and come back and join the family business.
Uh-huh.
So I actually went to Dubai, got my master's in finance, minor in economics,
Uh-huh.
and I'd go
Uh-huh.
to art school at night. So,
Wow.
yeah. Um,
Wow.
so I'd go to art school at night, and I had my first art exhibition when I was 16. But um, I mean, one would always assume that it's out of passion or it's
Yeah.
a hobby, even if I may say so, because pursuing a career in a creative field is not something that is very encouraged in India. I
Yeah.
think a
Yeah.
lot of families are warming up to the idea of it, but it's either your
Yeah.
doctors or your engineers or then
Yeah.
you're in finance. So
Yeah.
um, I've always had a very strong passion for art, and I think it comes from my mother because she was an artist, and
Wow.
she eventually gave it up when we were born. So she got really busy with raising
Yeah.
us. But I think she passed on that crazy passion that she had to me. And
Nice.
one semester she was visiting and she says, how do you like college? And I said, I hate it because um, I'm just doodling everywhere. And I said, I'm happy to pursue finance as well, but I said, I need art. I need it more in my life. And I
Yeah.
think as I started to grow older, the calling was stronger and more intense. So, here
Wow.
is here I am. So my
Wow.
institute actually had a gallery and they started showing
Uh-huh.
at World Art Dubai. And I
Wow.
was extremely introverted and very shy, and I did not want to, I didn't know what I was going to do with my art. Selling my
Uh-huh.
paintings or actually showing internationally or
Yeah.
professionally was not really on the agenda. I just knew that
Uh-huh.
I love art. I want to be an artist and I'm going to create art. And
Wow.
then one thing led to another, and here I am 26 shows later. So,
Wow. Amazing. So let's go back a bit, okay? So when
sure.
you were young, when you were like a kid, right? So were you always into art? Were you always doodling and scribbling on your notebook?
Yes, always. My first art exhibition was when I was 16 and I had these 22 large oil on canvas paintings
Holy cow.
that I sold out, and I would be creating art for 6 hours, 7 hours a day. So Apart from
Wow.
my school and everything else we were doing, I think art was a very big part of my life from the very beginning. I can't remember a time or a phase in my life where I wasn't doing something that was art related, and not just
Wow.
like some painting here, some doodling there, but there was like a big canvas or some story or some theme. Like there was always something or the other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, 16 you had your first exhibition. That's just mind blowing, Akshita. So,
Thank
but how
you.
did you even get to that point, right? So, did you learn art from somebody, or did your mom teach you? What was your first exposure to actually painting a full on canvas?
So I had several art teachers actually. I used to go to art classes. I was also studying IB art in the American school, and
Mhm.
I was also experimenting a lot. So yes, I did. I had a teacher who would come home and introduced me to oil on canvas, and and my 16th birthday was coming up. So I remember telling my mom, I said, you know, I want to do. I want to contribute to society and I want to make a substantial contribution. So she said, why don't you exhibit your works and see where that takes you. So
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
that's how it sort of began. And then I loved it. I loved it. It was thrilling, and in that moment I knew that this is it.
Wow, amazing. Let's get to that particular day of the exhibition, right? So, what was your reaction when people came there, commented on your artwork? So, did you ever think that people actually come there, visit your artworks, and actually buy those?
No, I actually wasn't sure. I'm never sure what to expect. I think for me, I'm so involved in the process of actually creating art
Mhm.
and so involved in just putting it out there that I completely zone out from what to expect, and my thought just doesn't seem to go there at all. And I think it's great. It's like a blank canvas, you know.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
are allowed to love and hate your work, and I mean, and you have to be okay with that. So I
yeah,
think the whole
yeah,
idea is just to put it out there, and you invest so much of yourself in your piece, so much of your heart and
yeah.
soul goes into making it, that I think it's just nice to be able to have it up there, then see where that goes.
Amazing, amazing. See, at age 16, right, you had a first exhibition. Oh, did you learn from some of the comments out there? Did anybody criticize you? How would you have reacted right now if let's say the same comments would have come up, right? Let's say if somebody criticized your work, so how would you have reacted right now?
So I love criticism. I think without criticism, you really can't grow as a person or as an artist.
Yeah,
And some of my biggest critics are the people who are very close to me. I keep them very close
nice,
because if
nice.
I lose them, then I stop growing as an artist. Not only that,
Yeah.
every 3 months, I have a 1.5 hour to 2 hour session with an art critic who lives in New York, and
Wow.
she destroys me for almost 2 hours. And I actually request her appointment 3 months in advance.
Wow.
And I make sure that's one thing I don't miss. So I do it consistently because it's so important to have
Yeah,
subjective and objective comments for your work. And I'm not saying to have people just criticize you and
yeah, yeah,
just to sort of put you down, but I think constructive criticism is really important
yeah,
for an artist because it's subjective. You can love my piece and you can absolutely
yeah,
detest what I do. Um,
yeah, yeah,
but then there are technicalities, and when
yeah,
somebody brings that up, I think it's extremely important because, I mean, like I mentioned, you're so into creating your piece,
yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
sometimes it's difficult to sort of look back, detach, from that and
Definitely,
see what's
definitely.
going on. And it's also so easy to reach a roadblock. I think as an artist, you have a lot of unknown
Yeah,
blocks. So
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
helps when you have somebody who is a professional and who will help you to look back and grow more.
wow. It's just amazing that you actually take time out to get somebody to critique your work. I think that's really good. I think that's one important way for artists to improve themselves and also to learn. And yeah, that's amazing. I think that's one of the traits of all the good artists out there, right? They welcome criticism
Yeah,
and they figure out how to
absolutely.
go about it and improve upon it, right?
True,
Very nice.
absolutely.
So while growing up, so were there any inspirations? Are there any artists out there who inspired you or who you wanted to emulate at some point in time?
So I've not had an artist that I've ever wanted to emulate. I
Uh-huh.
think what I learned from a lot of important artists, be it Picasso or Dali or Monet, is
Uh-huh.
that their styles were very unique and
Yeah,
their styles were always a sense of rebellion from what the norm was. And
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that whole notion inspired me because it's more interesting to create something that at least aspire to create something that hasn't been done before, as opposed to
yeah,
sort of going with what you're anyways doing. I mean, coming back to what you asked me is if at 33, if I were to look back at the pieces I created when I was 16, I would not do those again because they were
yeah,
landscapes, they were traditional, um,
yeah.
they were things that were more decorative art that you would see
Uh-huh.
people hanging on their walls in their homes. And that is not the sort of stuff I do anymore. So
Yeah,
I really believe that through your journey, through whatever it is that you're doing, it's important to create a niche for yourself. So I've
makes
been
sense.
deeply inspired by a lot of these artists. But I think the defining moment was I was 16 and I was reading a book called Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse.
Okay.
And I share this a lot because there was a line in that book that said, "Eternity is a mere moment just long enough for a joke." And
Wow, that's deep.
yeah,
That has a
so
deep meaning to it.
yeah, so to me, I felt that if you can live an eternity by experiencing a joke, and by joke essentially means by being in bliss and in
Yeah, yeah,
happiness and in zen in that moment, then you've really lived an eternity. And I
yeah.
felt that's the sort of work I wanted to do to spread that feeling with my viewers, to
Yeah,
make them live
yeah.
an entire eternity by just looking at my artwork for a few seconds. Yeah, so that's when I
Do
was
you
really
think you have
like, okay,
achieved that? Do you think you've achieved that?
I know. Now that's for my viewers to tell whether they experience bliss or whether they're tormented when they look at my work.
Wow, amazing, amazing. You spoke about style a bit earlier, right? So you said Van Gogh, all these Picasso, all those guys had their own unique style, right? So do you think for
Yes.
an artist in this day and age, is it important to have their own style? And second, is it important to strive towards creating their own style, or do you think that happens automatically as you grow as an artist?
I think it's very important for an artist to have their own style, or at least something in particular that they are remembered
Yeah,
for. There's so many artists in the world. Billions of people want to be an artist. But how do you really become the artist that people remember and that people want to aspire to either emulate or just sort of look up to? And I
yeah,
there's it's very difficult to have a particular style early on. I think what
yeah,
happens is over time, when you're growing as a person and when you're constantly evolving, that starts to show in your canvas. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
personally believe that your strokes evolve the more you experiment with different kind of mediums, the more practice you have, because this is all about practice at the end of the day. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
really believe that as you go on in life, you sort of find your way. I think it's all about self-discovery. A lot of it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is, it is. And okay, here's another question. If there is one thing that you know right now that you wish you had known when you were 16, what would that be?
If I had known one thing when I was 16, I think it would have been to practice more. Um,
Okay.
I think that, when you're that young, and I knew I wanted to be an artist. I wasn't sure how to go about it. And you have a lot of apprehensions, you have a lot of questions, you're so unsure
Yeah,
about your work, and you're constantly trying to get that validation from somebody not
Yeah,
realizing that that's really not what you need in that moment. I think what you
yeah,
need is to just keep creating, and your
yeah,
job is to create, and it's everybody else's job to either like it or hate it. I wish I had known then that I was so unsure and I was constantly questioning. So I think that is something that I would have definitely done differently. Just been more fearless and not worried
yeah.
about where it's going to go, if people are going to like it, if anyone's not going to like it. I think those things become so relevant as you start to grow up.
Definitely. Okay, here's a funny question. Let's say you can time travel like the Avengers and you go back, let's say 10 years. You go to 2011 and you meet Akshita then. What would you tell Akshita?
What would I tell Akshita then? I would tell Akshita then. Actually, I don't know what I would tell her then because I was juggling finance and art school, and I was, creating a lot of art even then. And I was already on my path to becoming an artist. So I'm not sure if I would change anything or say anything.
So you just tell her, just go, keep going. You're on the right path.
Yeah, go for it. I'll see
Amazing.
you in another 10, 12 years.
Very nice. Very nice. Let's keep that thought of time travel. Let's say now you can time travel to the future. Let's say 2020, yeah, 2022, 10 years from now on. Oh no, that's next year, right? Like
Yeah,
2032.
right.
Where do you think you will see Akshita?
I'm not sure where I'll see myself. I'll tell you where I would like to see myself. I would
Uh-huh.
like to be showing my body immersive experiences at museums,
Nice.
and travel around the world and showcase my art in every city that I possibly can and touch the lives of people around me and create
Wow.
awe-inspiring experiences. So that is something I've been working on for a few years, and I'm hoping to
Wow.
share it with the world next year. And I'm hoping that that goes places.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. I'm sure you will definitely do that.
Thank
Best
you.
wishes for it. So,
Thank you so much.
uh, okay. See, a lot of things that artists don't speak about, at least in India, is about the whole monetary factor, right? See, it's obviously difficult to price your artwork. There's no particular formula to say A plus B is equal to C when you go about pricing your artwork, right? So, but then what's the thought process that goes behind you as an experienced artist when you figure out a pricing? Or what do you suggest the amateur or upcoming artists have a thought on when they try to figure out a pricing for their artworks?
So it's difficult to price your own works. I do recommend that they do some study before they price their works. I don't price my works. I've never priced my works. Depending on the gallery I'm working with or
Yeah,
we usually have studio managers, they price it for you.
yeah,
Of course, the norms are the bigger your piece, the more expensive it is. Oil
yeah,
on canvas is always more expensive because that's still the most appreciated medium we have. I know there are artists who talk to me about installations that they want to create, but do not necessarily have a great monetary value for it
yeah,
because
yeah,
even if it's expensive, the buyers and collectors may not be as many. And
yeah,
so I feel that, of course, when you're starting out, I've sold pieces for a lot cheaper. And today when somebody says, "Oh, do you have that piece?" and it would have been priced differently, it just breaks my heart a little bit. But don't hold on to your pieces. I feel you
yeah,
need to let them go, and if they find
yeah,
a home, and even if you know you're selling it for a discount, but not more than a 10 to 15% discount,
yeah,
don't
yeah.
if somebody is trying to push you for a 20-25% discount more than what your piece should actually be worth, it's okay. Maybe you pass on that opportunity.
Yeah.
But about 10 to 15%
Makes
is
sense.
usually the norm. So
Wow, makes sense. You spoke about oil medium, right? So, I mean, what are the mediums you dabble with? Is oil your favorite medium? And then
no,
why did you choose oil in the first place?
I don't create oil on canvas anymore. I think I started with that. Most students start with that. it's an important medium. I do understand the sense of why it was taught so much in art school and why, a lot of
Yeah,
artists experiment with it. It's a beautiful medium. I personally don't have the patience for it, and I think my work has just gone into such a different style and genre that I enjoy experimenting. I enjoy the thrill of it, and I also use a lot of acrylics, and acrylics dry
nice.
quicker. So
Yeah,
when you're in it, you have to just, sort of be like, okay, I need to finish this, finish this, finish this. Otherwise,
yeah,
it
yeah,
dries immediately and then you're done.
yeah,
So that there's very little room for time,
yeah, yeah.
which to me is very interesting because I think if it were left up to me, I'd be working on the same pieces for months together. So it's nice to be, sort of quick and know exactly what you want to do. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know what you want to do, but then you're just sort of going with the flow.
Wow, very nice. There's a question. Can Akshita talk about the painting behind her? So,
Yeah, sure. I actually hold my phone up. It's a part of one of my series called Traveling Souls, and it's
uh-huh.
a photograph of Mumbai, and I've
Oh,
worked on it digitally, and
wow.
it was shown at there was a virtual show last year with a gallery in Miami, so that's when I showed this entire series. It was actually inspired
Wow.
by the lockdown because every year in the monsoon I'd go and photograph different parts of Mumbai and I'd print
Uh-huh.
them on canvas and I'd work on them. And in the
Wow.
pandemic we had a lockdown for such a long time. And I think the lockdown itself brought about so much uncertainty and so much
Yeah,
anxiety. And we just weren't sure when we were going to be able to step out, meet our loved ones, friends, family, and just
yeah,
experience the monsoon again. We were
yeah.
at home through those months. So I decided to work on a series and create some digital pieces. So this is actually one of those
Wow.
pieces.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Actually, good to know that fine art artists like you also experiment and do digital paintings, right? Some of them, they're like, you know what, I'm going to stick only with my fine art paintings. I'm not going to explore digital, and the other way around as well. So, what got you into the whole digital thing?
So I think there are artists who want to tell their story and they decide how they want to tell their story. And then there are artists who just are more, I mean, and they're more focused on the technical aspect of creating art.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm the artist who wants to tell my story. So if I can tell my story better through a digital piece, then I'll dabble in that. And
yeah.
I'm
Nice.
constantly learning new techniques and learning new styles to sort of constantly evolve as an artist. So I think digital art also happened during the lockdown, and
Uh-huh.
I was actually out of art supplies, and I really wanted to create art because I wanted to share this
Uh-huh.
experience of feeling confined, but also about how our soul has the power of being wherever it wants to be. So that's why
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you sort of look at this piece, you sort of see movement of light, which is kind of
yeah, yeah.
symbolic of how our souls have the power to travel. So I don't know if I could get this kind of technique out through paint. I think that
Yeah,
whole effect of light would go really well if it was
yeah.
created digitally. So that's how
Nice.
I started working on that.
Very cool, very cool. And what's been the most challenging artwork that you have done until now, and why was it even challenging?
So I think it's very pertinent that you ask me this today. I have just finished the most challenging piece that I've done so far in my life.
Uh-huh.
I started it in April, first week of April, and I
Wow.
have finished it today, or at least I feel I finished it. This basically, I wanted to use some paw paint over my canvas, and
Wow.
what I use for backgrounds are photographs that I take of Bombay and of other cities that I travel, and I print them on canvas, and they kind of
Okay.
become my backdrop to create the piece. And
Wow.
that's how the whole thing began. And I created it, then I ripped out some of the paint, then I poured resin, then I some healing crystals, then I use gold flakes, then I've also brought on a lot of intricacy with my hand, which has taken me a good 2 months to create. And today I looked up at the
Wow.
piece and I said, okay, I think it's now complete. Because I'll leave it, and then a couple of days later, I'm like, okay, I need to go back. And then I leave it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not happy with this. And then once the paint's dried, I've literally sat with a knife and scraped it out and removed
Wow.
parts of it and then redone it. And then the paint has left some marks on the canvas. So I'm like, okay, now I suddenly have a glue in a painting that I had no intention of bringing glue on. So then I'm bringing something. So it's been a mad, mad journey. I had no idea what I was going to do with it. And today I finally said, okay, this is complete. I'm going to share it on my Instagram tomorrow. So I'm really
Wow.
excited.
Wow, that sounds like a crazy process, right? So when you go about actually creating a painting, what's the process? I mean, do you have a vision on what you want to create first, and then you go about it, or do you just go with a blank mind with inspiration?
I think so. How I create work is that they're more project specific. So right now I'm working
Uh-huh.
on a project called Time and Space. So
Uh-huh.
I begin with doing research and I'm
Okay.
constantly reading up and making notes of things I want to do, what I want to create, and how I want to tell my story and what my story is about. And then, depending on how I think it would best work, to put different elements and mediums
Yeah.
together. So that's what I do. The only thing that is entirely unplanned are my canvases. They're all
Uh-huh.
happy accidents, but they take me a long, long time to do because I mean, you can just pour paint on a canvas and say, okay, this is it, this is my
Uh-huh.
art. And I'm actually going to also address the question that has just been asked because it's very
Yeah.
relevant to what I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
seeing that, it's become an excuse for justifying something random than actually creating
Yeah.
art. And this is a debate that a lot of artists have because when I travel internationally, I know at Art Basel, Miami in 2019, there was a banana stuck to a wall with scotch tape and it sold for $1 million. And
What the hell?
I'm sitting there with my canvas that's taken me so long to create, and this whole thing that I curated and put together. And I'm just wondering why something like a banana is priced like that. And then, we have all these artists here who are working very hard and trying to put this
Yeah.
show together. And, why we're not selling for $1 million yet. And a lot of it, you're right, has become a marketing gimmick. It does happen in the secondary art market where things are just, a lot of things have become about marketing, and a lot of
Yeah.
auctions
Yeah.
are about your marketing gimmick and what trick you can pull out of the hat. But I do believe
Yeah.
that there's a difference between fad and, fashion. So I feel that if you're an artist, you're really like dedicated to your
Uh-huh.
practice and dedicated to your work.
Uh-huh.
I think you'll definitely be an artist that will be here to stay. So
Wow.
that's what
Crazy.
I believe. For somebody who, because we work hard and then we see this and then
Yeah.
you're like, what are we doing? But with as time passes that marketing gimmicks don't really work. You have to definitely have some method to your madness to stick it out.
Wow. So continuing in that particular conversation of new types of art forms and stuff. So what do you think about NFTs? Have you explored that particular option wherein some random thing gets sold for like millions and millions of dollars in the name of art?
So I was actually on a panel discussion last week where we were talking about NFTs, and I think NFTs, we don't know if they are here to stay. We're not sure. There are a lot of artists who are dabbling into it. I have been researching on it. I haven't gotten into it yet. I don't know if I ever will, but I do know that I have friends who are into it as well. And I just feel, I mean, when I was studying finance, I came across this quote by Warren Buffett, and he said that a particular kind of securities are weapons for mass destruction. And that's when I realized that if something is incoherent to you, it's advisable that you stay away from it. I think NFTs are
Yeah.
still incoherent for me. So I'm not sure if I want to
Nice.
dabble into it yet. It makes sense to a lot of people. For me, I'm
Yeah.
still in shades of gray. I think what I definitely know, I'm definitely going to continue working on.
Wow, amazing. That's a nice way to put it. Nice way to put it. Cool. There's another question by Fatima. She's asking any tips about how to digitalize big hand painted artworks to canvas prints.
Digitalize it. I don't know if I'm the best person to tell you, but what I would do is if you have a large canvas, please take a high resolution photograph of it, get it photographed professionally, get the highest resolution file you possibly can, and you can use that to print anything, be it canvas or any other thing that you like. So I do that with
Yeah.
all of my works. I get them photographed professionally, I get the high resolution files, and then you can use it literally anywhere that you like. I just got it printed on some face masks and it
Uh-huh.
comes out great. So, you can use it wherever you like.
Wow. Oh, very nice, very nice. And so I want to talk about plagiarism and piracy, right? That's been a big issue, especially in this digital age where people put out their artworks on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or any other online medium, right? A lot of artists come out and say people have created fake accounts. They've just copied my artwork without giving any credits. Or I mean, I actually know an artist in Chennai whose artwork was printed in merchandise and it's being even now it's being sold in China and he
Oh
can't do
my.
anything about it. So have you faced any of those issues or have you experienced any of this stuff? And if so, what do you think from your experience? How do you think artists can protect their masterpieces?
It's a really good question, and it's important as well. I've had that happen to me. I've had a very well-known artist actually take my theme, and I was working on light boxes at that time, and I was creating light boxes. And next thing you know, she had spoken to me a few months ago, and she put up her light box, and the theme was the same. And somebody actually pointed it out to me. I was doing a show in Mumbai, and somebody came to me and said, what you're saying now, somebody's
Wow.
doing it as we speak. And I said, what do you mean? And they said,
Wow.
and luckily for me, I'd been discussing the idea with her for the lady who I was showing for a long, long time. And
Wow.
this artist is, one of those artists basically have a lot of followers and is very
Yeah.
commercial. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, they basically have your work. And, I had it in my notes for 2 years. And the next thing you know,
Wow.
somebody's like copying it. So you do have plagiarism, and it's unfortunate. I've had people come up to me with photographs of other people's artworks and say, listen, so and so is like the prices are off the roof and we don't know where we can find this. Can you copy this for us?
Holy
And
cow.
I said, absolutely not. That's
Wow.
plagiarism and it's really wrong. And I think it's really unfortunate that people copy. Really think it's not a good idea. I think if you're into appropriation, then it's a different story because then you're merging different things. But
Yeah.
but blatantly copying something is just wrong. I don't know how one can escape it. I have artists who do a lot of things similar. So I basically write poetry with a lot of my series and artworks, and I show it. I then went to an exhibition a few months ago I discussed it with this friend, and the next thing you know, she's an artist and she's doing the exact same thing and saying a lot of the things that I said, and I said, this sounds
Holy
so
cow.
familiar. So you know your work. You know instantly when somebody is taking it. You know these things.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I think the best thing you can do is just put your pieces out there as much as possible. Have a big name signed on
Yeah.
it, so people know it's your work. I don't know. I don't know. I've had it. I'm still trying to figure it out. So I think the best thing you can do is just put your work out there as much as you can and have the world
Wow.
see it as much as possible. Don't be shy and question your work 100 times. I think just put it out there and take it from there.
Wow, crazy, crazy. There are a few artists who told me that they obviously face issues very similar to what you're saying. They obviously try to bring down the other person's artwork or try to file a complaint or a case or
Yeah.
whatever. But they said after a point in time, they were like, see, instead of me spending time and money and effort on going after somebody who just copied my work, I'd rather focus on creating new stuff and put it out there. Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah, I think that does make sense. There's really only so much you can do. And
Yeah,
and the thing is that if this person is copying one piece or copying 10 pieces, all you need to do is focus on your journey and focus on
yeah,
putting your work out there because you will always find people who will copy your style, who will copy themes, who will
Yeah.
copy ideas. I mean, imagine I brainstormed for 9 months and then the idea was out there, and the next thing you know, someone has like literally copied it word for word.
Wow.
So that hurts, but I think you're absolutely your friend is right that then you just go back and focus on your next
Yeah.
piece. How much will somebody copy, you know? So eventually
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to stop.
Yeah. Wow. Very nice. You earlier spoke about artist block, right? So have you faced any of those artist block? And if so, how do you get rid of it? How do you handle it?
Yes, I face a lot of artistic blocks, artist blocks. They're frustrating. There are days, weeks even, where I don't create any art. I'm not able to go into my studio. There are days where I don't want to be an artist. It's extremely frustrating because you feel like you have an idea and it's there, but it's just not coming out. There's no formula to it. You just have to
Just
stick it
let it
out.
be.
You have to let it be. I usually try and just completely cut myself off from my art. You know, I avoid talking about it. I avoid looking at it too much. And I think that's because sometimes when you're in something for long enough, maybe you're confused, it also tends to become stagnant. So I feel the
Yeah.
energy is very stagnant. The important thing to do is to be able to cut that for the time being, come
Yeah.
back with a fresh perspective, and you know, not indulge in art or art related activities.
Yeah.
And you know, I have friends who are writers as well, and we talk about this. And you know, I think the best thing to do is just back off, maybe get some life experiences, travel, maybe have a routine for a week, whatever
Yeah.
helps you completely get your mind off things, and then you know, you go back with a fresh perspective, with a new perspective, and you know, create something that you didn't think you could have done in the first place.
Wow. That's very nicely put. So I also want to talk about skills, right? So see, in this day and age, do you think it's very important for an upcoming artist, apart from having or honing their skills in being a good painter or drawing, do you think they also need to have other soft and communication skills like decent content writing, decent photography skills for them to be able to showcase their work in a better fashion?
I think it definitely helps. Yes. I think to be able to, you know, do a little bit more than just creating art is helpful if you aspire to exhibit maybe internationally. It just makes life a lot easier. That's my experience. You know, I've still represented by two international galleries. I've worked with a few more. And I think that being able to showcase your work in a particular manner, and I'm not saying use marketing gimmick, but just to be able to communicate better and to put yourself out there and be more confident, and you know, maybe be able to photograph your work in a particular manner.
Yeah,
It definitely helps. It definitely helps
yeah,
because that helps you to reach more people, and you don't know where your art will take you, and you don't know
yeah,
who you
yeah,
might meet or who might fall in love with it, and what opportunity might come your way. So I think it
yeah.
definitely helps.
Wow, great. And I want to talk about social media before we close this conversation. So there are people out there, there are obviously artists out there who put out content every day. And I've actually personally spoken to artists who feel depressed if they don't put out a content every day because they just surrendered with the whole dogma of I need to put out a reel, I need to put out a post, I need to put out a story every day. Do you think that actually makes sense? Do you think what do you think an artist's perspective should be to creating art? Do you think they should create art just for sake of putting it out there, or do you think they should create it for their own liking?
So I think every artist has a different goal in mind. I definitely don't believe that you need to put your work out there just because, you know, you need to put your work out there. I completely disagree with that. I know that it's, you know, with social media, a lot of it has become commercial, and people do want to put work out there just for the sake of it.
Yeah,
I think social media has, however, the pro is that it's been a blessing because through the pandemic, I wasn't able to travel, and I spent 4 months a year out of the country. So for me, it became difficult. But through Instagram, I was able to communicate with different gallerists. I was able to get in touch with different artists, you know, even discuss some collaborations. So I think it completely depends on the artist and how you're using it. If you're using social
Yeah.
media to connect with people internationally, or if you're using it just to sort of put things out there. I'm reasonably active and I try and put out as much work as I can, but that's also because a lot of my professional communication happens through social media. And that is
Yeah.
also how, first found when I did my first show in Miami with a French gallery. So it definitely helps to put it, you don't have to put everything out there. Maybe,
Yeah.
particular works, artists have a thing that, oh, I created this, so I have to show it. That's not true. You can create 100 pieces and still showcase only one, and those pieces can just be for your studio. Everything that is
Yeah.
in your studio doesn't have to come out of your studio. So
Nice.
I feel that with social media, you can use it to your advantage. You can definitely connect with more people and talk to more people and share your work with more people. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
my
Amazing.
opinion on social media.
That definitely makes sense, right? Makes sense. So I personally believe people shouldn't be caught up in the whole thing about getting likes and getting engagement. And I think they should focus on what they do, and things
Yeah.
will automatically happen. So
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. And the focus needs to be on creating and sharing. The
yeah,
focus can never be about, oh, I'm going to put this out there for like my, to get these likes or to do this or just because I want to put it out there. I think the focus needs to be, I'm an artist, I've created this and I'm going to share
yeah,
it. And right now we are sort of still in a pandemic and in a pretty chaotic world, if I may say so.
yeah,
So if there's no other way to show your work and no other way to maybe reach out to people internationally, I think putting it out on social media is definitely a good start.
yeah. Wow, wow. That actually makes a lot of sense. So I want to talk about the pandemic. I mean, for me personally, the whole perspective of even art, artists, and education in surrounding artists changed completely with the whole pandemic. I mean, what was the pandemic's effect on you, I mean, personally or even professionally?
Um, I think professionally it brought a lot of uncertainty because I had my whole year planned and
Uh-huh.
I had to cancel two really important shows and four trips that were
Wow.
planned way in advance. So that was definitely a setback. And I think when I say this, I say this for a lot of artists who may have had to
Mm,
cancel shows and things. And so that was one thing. But the advantage was that I took a break from constantly just creating work and then traveling and then showing it and then coming back, creating work, traveling, showing. And my themes, my style, my colors, my poetry, everything was similar. Like you could instantly tell that's my piece. And I think what the
yeah.
and a lot of my pieces had a lot of intricate work. It's highly controlled. And with the pandemic, I was limited to supplies. So I experimented with a lot of different mediums and I suddenly let go. I was suddenly able to just let go of the control that I had with my canvases and I experimented with four paints and you have no control over certain mediums. So I
Yeah.
I really learned how to let go, which was important, and it's not something that I was able to practice. And I was introduced to different mediums. I of course created some digital pieces. So I think that understanding that I was in a particular space and time was just passing, just the whole notion fascinated me, which is how, and that experience gave birth to my time and space series. That was what
Very
came out of it
nice.
professionally. And I've been researching on it for the last year and a half. So I'm
Wow.
excited to see where that goes.
Great. I personally believe that in 30, 40 years' time, when we look back at 2020 and 2021, I think that's going to be one of the most impactful years or turnaround years for a lot of people. And I personally
Absolutely.
believe that's going to be a turnaround year for a lot of artists as well, right? So
Yeah.
it's great. Great. So do you have time for a couple of more questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Superb. So you spoke about galleries, right? So a lot of upcoming artists, they always, I mean, they don't know how to approach galleries or what do we even talk to them? How do we pitch them, right? It's like a startup pitching to the investor to showcase
Right.
their work. So how do you approach a gallery if you're an upcoming artist? What do you talk to them?
So approaching galleries is not the best idea. I think what
Yeah.
galleries like is they like to find you. What you can do is in whichever city you're in, I mean, if you're in Bombay, for instance, you need to go out for openings of shows. You know, different galleries have different exhibitions. You need to go to those exhibitions to go for, I mean, if you're in Bombay for, they have these gallery hopping things they do on Thursday nights. So that's
Wow.
something you should be a part of. You should try and meet as many people as you can in the art world, try and meet the right people and just speak, just absorb, just understand, just speak. And if a gallery finds that you're in it for the right reasons and you're really committed to your practice and it's something that you're never going to let go of, I think they
Yeah.
automatically pick you. There's no right or wrong formula. The most important thing is just to make sure you're a part of as many events, art events, try and get
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
in, whatever you can do to sort of be a part of it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Wow. Amazing. Final question. Any tips or any advices that you want to give out for people who are just getting into or trying to build their career as a full-time artist in India?
I think if you want to get into it for the love of art, then by all means, it's difficult. It's not something that's easy. I also recommend people to be able to, I mean, if you can do something else part-time that, helps you financially because
Yeah.
artists don't have it easy when they start. It takes a while for them to establish themselves. So, yes, by all means, do something else that you also enjoy. I'm not saying to pursue that forever, but practically, even if it's like a half day job or something that
Yeah.
helps you fund your passion.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and what a lot of artists get wrong is they start and they're extremely passionate. All of us are, but we need to find the perfect equilibrium between being practical, being
Yeah.
financially independent, and being able to live your passion. Like, what do you want to do? You want to pursue art and then realize that you still have bills to pay and things to do, and then maybe at an older age take that up, or maybe start at a younger age, struggle when you really can, go get a job, do some work, come back home, create art all night, and keep that fire in your belly so that you can reach a point
Yeah.
in your life where you can completely let go of everything else and focus on art full time. And
Yeah.
and then hopefully it takes off, and even if it doesn't matter to you. You can create art for the love of it.
Wow, I think that's the most practical advice I've heard. That's very truthful, right? Very truthful. I mean, you don't have to be in a dream world. You have to be very practical about your approach. That's very nice.
Yeah. A lot
Very
of people
nice.
come and say a lot of things, and it all sounds fluffy and it all sounds great. But when you actually start living it, and I meet artists from every nook and corner of the world, and that's the most interesting and sound thing that I understood
Yeah,
and learned, because you'll meet people and then I would also question them and be suspicious, saying, "What? You're not a full-time artist, really?" And then you realize that everybody is struggling and they may not have,
yeah,
I mean, everybody might not be able to be a full-time artist
yeah, yeah,
for that time being, So that's
yeah,
something
yeah,
that
yeah.
will probably come a little later in your life, but you need to make sure that you're cushioned and ready to take off before you do. You don't want to crash land and burn and then fall out of love with something you loved so dearly in the first place.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I forgot to ask you one question. To become a good artist or even a full-time artist these days, do you think it's necessary for a person to go through a fine art school, or do you think it's okay with practice and passion?
I am a little old school in my thought and belief. I do very strongly recommend art school, or
Uh-huh.
at least some art courses if you're not able to go to art school full time. What art school essentially does is, you're doing assignments. So you're basically doing sketches and paintings and
Yeah.
assignments, which is essentially creating art over and over and over again. And
Yeah.
that's extremely important because it helps your hand become more sturdy. It improves your concentration. You understand the concentration. You basically understand the
Yeah.
relationship
Yeah.
between light and shadow and things that you're not otherwise necessarily thinking of. I'm not saying that you cannot be a self-taught artist. That's not what I'm saying at all. There are some great self-taught artists there, but I think going to art school definitely has its advantages. So I
Nice.
strongly recommend it. You learn mediums and techniques that
Yeah.
you may not have, may not be able to come
Definitely.
across on your own accord. So um,
Definitely.
I think it definitely
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah, I think one thing that I have personally observed in people who have gone through the whole art school experience and people who have not gone through that. So people have gone through the whole art school experience. They actually can dabble with a lot of different mediums in actually a really good way, and
Right.
they also are willing to explore and use different mediums together. Right? I've observed from a layman's perspective. So
Yeah,
anyway,
and
amazing.
also
Actually,
it's
sorry,
great
go.
when you're looking at, no, I'm just adding to what I said. When you're looking at other artists' works, that's the best way to learn. And when you're in art
Yeah,
school, everyone's painting the same still life, but in their own style. So the
yeah,
more
yeah,
you
yeah,
see, the best way to become an artist or teach yourself or educate yourself is to see more art. The more art you look
yeah.
at, the more it helps you, the more it opens your horizons
Yeah.
and your perspective. So yeah.
Wow. Very nice. Nicely put. Thanks a lot, Akshita. Thanks a lot for
Thank you.
taking time to
Thank
do
you
this.
so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Amazing.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me, and it was lovely connecting with you.
Amazing. My pleasure. And best of luck for your goals and milestones. I'm sure it's going to be great. Anyway, thanks a lot once again.
Thank
Keep
you.
creating.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Bye.
Wow, that was an amazing episode with Akshita Gandhi. Her thoughts and ideas were inspiring to say the least. Thank you guys for listening to first episode of Creative Chips. Creative Chips is brought to you by MadCap and music is by Sundar C. We're gonna be posting one new episode every week with artists from across the globe. See you guys soon. Have fun. Take care.